Announced in this year's budget were extensions of support schemes available to small businesses and the introduction of a new scheme. So the main topic that was announced was the extension of the furlough scheme. Now this is really good because initially it was planned to end in April this year. It's been extended all the way to September. So this will give companies time to see how things improve as the roadmap ends, and it gives them time to adapt to the changing situation. The way that the scheme works is same as before. 80% of the average wages of an employee will be paid for by the government. Now this percentage won't change for the employee throughout the period. What will change is the employer contribution towards it. So from July, the employer will be expected to pay 10% towards this grant, and then for August and September, the employer will contribute 20%. The scheme will also be extended so that new applicants can join. So previously, up until, and it remains the case up until April, an RTI submission on the payroll had to have been made by the 30th of October. For the scheme from May until September, a submission had to have been made by the 2nd of March. So that means that anyone who's recently been employed can still have access to the furlough scheme, so that if they're working flexibly and only able to work part of their hours, they will still be able to get an element of furlough pay. The next extension was the self-employment income support scheme, which is for sole traders and partners. This is based on 80% of their average trading profits. The scheme changes slightly for the 4th and 5th grants which have been announced. They now include the 2019-2020 tax returns. So that's really good news, because there was a number of people who missed out on the initial grants because they were recently self-employed. So they will be able to access both the 4th and the 5th grants, provided they've submitted their tax return on time. The 4th grant, which is the one that's due in April, doesn't change from the criteria before. So it's going to be 80%, as we've said, and that will be payable in April. There's a cap on that, of £7,500 for the total grant. When we get onto the 5th grant, which is going to be due to be available in July, this is going to have a turnover test associated with it. So if your turnover has decreased by 30% or more, you will still have access to the 80% grant for your average earnings. If, however, your turnover hasn't dropped by 30%, so you've not been as badly affected by the COVID pandemic as others, you will still be able to get a grant, but it'll only be 30% of the average earnings rather than the 80%. Finally, the Restart grant was announced. So this is a new scheme, whereas the others were extensions. This new scheme is aimed at businesses who have premises, and the idea is to help them to get back on track as lockdown looks to open and they can open their premises. Now, the level of the grant will depend on the sector that you're in. So for any non-essential retail, which is due to open on the 12th of April, they haven't got quite as long to wait until they can open, so their grant will be capped at a maximum of £6,000 per premises. If, however, you're in the hospitality, accommodation, leisure, gym and personal care sector, you might have to wait until the 17th of May to reopen. So because of that, the maximum grant that's available in that sector is £18,000 per premises. There's more detail on our website on how to find the exact figures, and obviously you can talk to us and we'll help along the way.